Today I want to work on food tracking website. Um, the goal of this application, web app, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is, I don't really trust my tum-tum. So, when I'm hungry, I need to know like approximately how much can I eat? Am I eating like 4 days of food? Am I eating like 1 day of food? Am I like generally getting the things that I need to get in my body over a long period of time? That type of thing are the questions that we want to answer here. And today I want to like work on starting to get like meals in, right? So right now we have like kind of like ingredients. So we have like in this shitty example, we have egg and bread, right, as our two ingredients. And we can like go in and we can say, egg has some fat, protein, calories. These are like, the things that we can like enter into an ingredient, right? So our egg has like this much of those things within 105 grams or 2 eggs, right? And then like bread has like this amount of those things within 51 grams or 2 pieces, right? Then we can go and we can go make like egg on bread, and we can say we want 2 eggs and like 20 grams of bread or something. Ideally we would probably think about bread in pieces, but you can like then get like the summary of those. That's kind of like current state. But I think this is like kind of wrong. I think so. These are kind of like recipes. We can call these collections, recipes. I don't know like what the right word is because I don't really use recipes. But I do like eat the same stuff sometimes, I guess. Uh, but like the amounts of stuff I will eat in a meal is like really kind of like random. It's kind of just based off of like what I had in the fridge, how much is there, how much I need for tomorrow. If I'm like rationing stuff out, if I would just like feel like more of something today, all of those things are like very variable. And so I think that like that's something that we need to account for is that it should be very easy when I say I ate egg on bread. Maybe today I ate 3 egg on bread, 3 bread. Maybe that's and used like less cream cheese than normal, but more spinach, right? Maybe that's something that I would like to be able to enter in here. So that's like I don't measure ingredients, and then also like sometimes we sub ingredients. Sometimes I sub ingredients just based off like what's in the fridge. And also within like the concept of one ingredient, right? Like bread. Bread is like kind of a broad category of food, I guess. And like what bread I have is just like completely dependent on like which thing was in my field of view when I got to the store, right? It's like I don't really think about it. I'm just like bread, and I just like pick one off the wall, right? Maybe I look at price or something. I don't know, but it's definitely not the same one every time. I don't even know if it's like normally the same one. I think it's like almost more likely like more often different than the same. It's just kind of like I don't know, grab, right? And so we need to account for that as well. And so I guess the first thing I want to do is try to figure out what we're going to do to fix that. I think we're going to like implement that in like the main segment. But understanding like what we want, I think is something that we can do now. Looks like nothing broke from yesterday, which is kind of nice. It looks like everything is kind of still functional. At least, oh, maybe not. So also we did a bunch of like refactoring yesterday that needs to be fixed. So stuff like this. What's this? When I clicked on egg, probably it crashed. Is that what happened? It was ingredient 1. Ingredient egg? No. Collection egg? Yeah. Division by 0. Can't you pull the properties of the food you eat from somewhere? Probably. But I don't really mind entering it. I think that that's like a good exercise for me to do anyways. Yeah. That's just, I want to do it that way. We might hook stuff up later, but whatever. Okay, so DBZig508, he's got a division by 0 here. That makes sense. So here we need to just check if divisor is equal to 0. If divisor is equal to 0, we need to return an error. Or, I guess, value is infinity. I guess we just like explicitly call that one out. Or nan. Maybe nan is better. Because this is just going to get returned over the wire to the web UI. It would be nice to not like completely trash the fucking like transmission of all the other data. We need to be able to like fix it. So Nan seems reasonable. Let's be like, hey, this is fucked up. You have to fix it. So if divisor is not equal 0, it's this. I guess it's not a floating point though. So maybe we just write -1. I guess that's kind of more correct here. Yeah. And then this is kind of like a collection of many things. So here we need to propagate that. If this thing exists, we say if what is this? This is like total pointer. If total pointer is less than 0, greater than or equal to 0, I guess, then we add. Yes. What's this mad about? I see. I see. Now what's this pissed about? I'm actually confused. Total pointer here comes from return. Oh, I'm a dumbass. It was ret. This is property. So this is property dot value, I guess, here and here. Yes. Okay, so now we're hoping that we see a -1 for these things, which makes sense because probably egg. We're using 10 grams, which this thing is set as. What the fuck? What is going on here, though? This doesn't seem reasonable to me. Maybe this is displayed wrong. Yeah, I guess we had an invalid unit in here that wasn't displayed correctly. Which, okay, whatever. Hi streamer, hi chat. There's a question. What's your personal pros on using Zig? It's just like a nice balance of like flexibility and correctness, I think. It's like, I call it Rust for C, where Rust is Rust for C++. Right? It's like, you know, in the past, like, what, 50 years, we have learned some things about, like, what is nice and what is good for computers and what is good for developers. And Zig kind of just hits the mark on, like, the balance that I want. Something that's, like, out of my way. The language doesn't really surprise me ever, but, like, it also doesn't, like, hinder me from doing the things that I want to do. And it gives you have, like, maximum control. All of those things are, like, pretty nice. Pretty nice. Okay. I guess we'll just like keep an eye out for crashes and things that aren't working right, but let's think about what we want like meal entry to look like, I guess. You can still shoot yourself in the foot, but the gun they give you has the safety on. Yeah, that's a good. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So to solve these problems, I don't always buy the same bread. I don't measure ingredients. Sometimes I substitute. We'll write substitute. Ingredients. I think what I want is probably like meal view probably is where this is all solved. So like in the meal view, you like maybe instantiate a recipe. Or maybe even not instantiate, like add, right? Maybe today, like maybe I have a recipe of like burger fries, right? And maybe in the meal I'm like instantiate burger instantiate fries, right? This is like one meal. And then in my burger, maybe I used like a different patty, right? So like maybe sometimes I order like, or like buy, order, whatever the fuck the word is. Somebody said order Uber Eats, so I read that word. Like I might like buy like veggie patty A, and I might buy like those like, maybe I bought what is it called? Those like Beyond Meat patty. Maybe I have one of these, maybe I have one of these. Both of these are like burger patties, and they both like fulfill the role of burger patty. Right? So kind of like in the collection, I might have like burger, and in burger, I have like buns, which, you know, in my world are typically just like 2 slices of bread, right? Because like because I don't really, why buy burger buns? That's stupid. They're just bread. So like I just have like bread, and then I might have like sauce and like patty, right? And like sauce is like, or like spreads is like thing I just have in the fridge. So at this point, like buns and patty, that's pretty clear that like having some sort of like drop down here for like the different types of patties makes sense, right? So like, you know, patty could be like one of list, right? Something like that. Buns probably also like one of list, probably. And then maybe like in the typical case, you know, I'm like mayo plus ketchup is like kind of the normal. You know, maybe I do something like that normally, but then maybe I get a little fancy sometimes and I want to add a thing. Or I don't want to, or I want to completely swap it out for something else. Right? Like maybe just it depends on what's in the fridge. Maybe sometimes I use cream cheese, right? And then maybe sometimes I use like hummus or something, just like fuck it, because your burger is a sandwich, good sir. I think that if you got the fucking patty in there, it's a burger. I guess like I also might do like veggies of some sort, right? Tomato, and then like tomato might be like, it might be like cherry tomatoes if I'm like lazy and like have those in the fridge, you know, like, and then like maybe like some onions or something, right? It's like all of these things might go in, but it's like very unlikely, I guess, that it's ever all of these things at once. You know what I mean? Which makes this complicated. So I think like things I might want here are like, I might want like which burger is most likely, or like which burger variants are likely. These are probably 2 things that I might want to pick from. What are we talking about? Yeah. We're trying to solve the problem that I don't always use the same ingredients for the same food. Right? So I was trying to use burger as a simple example, but I think this is kind of complicating. Like it's a more complicated thing than I thought, which is good. I think hitting like the most complicated thing is nice. So let's maybe like write down like a couple variants. Variant 1, and can we do this kind of in another window so that we don't lose kind of like the context? Let's do this. Okay. Okay, so let's start here with like the idea that we have burger. And we're gonna have like variant 1, we'll say, is bread. Bread, veggie patty, you know, veggie patty A, we'll call it, because I don't really know what the fucking names of these things are, with mayo and ketchup. Really bare bones burger. Maybe variant 2 is like, maybe like we got fancy and we ate some burger buns, right? And we did like, We had vegetables, so we put some of those in. And we wanted like cream cheese this time. And maybe we got crazy and we added hummus, right? Maybe. And we forgot like Beyond Patty or something. And so what would be nice is like somewhere I click I eat burger, and maybe like over time, every time I select burger, yeah, burger variant just ketchup. I mean, there's like a very real case where I do like veggie patty and like cut it up and like call it burger and just like mix it with some ketchup. That's like a very like no bread. That's like a very real thing that I would maybe do. Right? Like let's not call that a burger, maybe. Um so maybe what I think I do like the idea of both of these being called burger and being linked together somehow. Right? The idea that like I ate burger is like a thing that I want. That's like a category of thing, right? And so I think as long as we can like maybe we can like sample from past variants. Maybe. So maybe like when we eat a meal, we instantiate burger and then like sub add whatever. Right? Maybe this just solves the problem. Then we like select from previous burger. And then maybe in the collection view, we see like stats. Maybe we like see stats of all of the different burgers that we've eaten. Right? So like, most common burgers are shown, maybe. And then maybe we can put notes on these. Maybe like if I put hummus on my burger, I'm like, that was gross. Then maybe I want to write that down so that I remember next time. Maybe they need to hit some requirement to be considered a meal of that category. Maybe, yeah. Like maybe it doesn't show up in like the collection view until it's happened enough times. Maybe. It was not a dig at your burger. I'd just say burger is subcategory sandwich. Oh, for sure. You just no longer meet the specific definition of what burgers. I mean, I get to define it, right? Because these are my meals. So I think in my head, burger is when you have the patty, not based off the buns, which I think other people would call it. Okay, so this seems all same, right? We say meal. In this meal, I add burger, and somehow we select the ingredients. I think that's reasonable, and then we do our like substitutions. That all seems straightforward. Now, the thing that we need to solve is when we instantiate what's in there. And I think that kind of comes from whatever the fuck we do here. So maybe we can save as variant. Maybe that's a thing we do here. So by default, a meal is like an instantiation of burger. Or sorry, like in this meal, we instantiate burger, we make our substitutions. And by default, those are like one-offs. Right? But I can specifically save them. I don't think that's really great either, to be honest. I want something more automatic. I almost feel like I shouldn't enter ingredients in burger at all. You know? Like, it's almost like the variants should kind of evolve naturally. That would be kind of sick, right? So we just, if I eat burger one time, then burger is just whatever I put on it that time. But if I eat burger like 10 times, we can probably figure out what the most likely things to be in the burger are, right? They kind of like will figure out that like bread and patty. At the very least, it'll figure out that like it doesn't really figure that out though, because if I'm swapping out the patties for specific patties every time, then that's not great. I almost feel like there has to be like another layer here of like the idea of bread, which maybe just becomes its own collection. Okay, let's think about that. So, say we have collection is now the wrong word for this. S collection, I don't know yet, right? But so we have a collection bread. And bread is only ever one thing. It's like one of like whichever bread I happen to have in the closet right now. Then I instantiate in when I instantiate burger in meal, I add bread, but then pick like I need to like edit bread as well for which bread I used. I don't like that. That doesn't feel nice. That feels nasty. I think like conceptually that's kind of getting close to what I want, right? We have like this concept of bread and like we have these options for it, but I feel like in the case of bread, I almost want like a drop down that I can click and be like, which fucking bread is it today? Or maybe even if the website knows what's in my fridge, it could figure it out. Right? Like if I have cuz like a thing that I would like this thing to be able to do at some point is like generate a shopping list for me or maybe even place an online order for me for someone to drive food to my house if I'm like cuz going to grocery stores blows. So like if I had like on my ingredients page like kind of like things that were in stock, maybe. Like I could have like bread in here. They were right about smart fridges all along. No. But I guess I guess it would be kind of funny to like put a camera in your fridge and have it check. That is kind of funny. Um okay. So maybe we have like ingredient categories. And in this we have like bread. Then we have ingredient is like ingredient of like bread variant 1 and bread variant 2, right? These guys have like specific nutritional info, right? Right? Because like these are actually like things that have packages, right? Then when I create burger, I add bread as an ingredient category, which is nice because then I can also have like burger patty. Burger patty is also like an ingredient category that would have like beyond patties and veggie patty A and veggie patty B or whatever the fuck, right? Then in then I guess maybe every time I use any ingredient that's in a category, there's like an automatic drop down that like is like you can sub this easily. So like I think that works. Right? So I can I just like burger variants? I want to put this somewhere else. Okay, so like I like make my burger collection. Maybe this is like a bad order. No, that's fine. So we say like we have like a burger. Maybe this turns into like meal type or something, but collect or like meal item or something. But collection is fine for now because that's the name we're using right now. So I create this collection burger and I don't put anything in it. Like, right? I just instantiate this thing and I add specific bread. Bread variant 1. Right? So yeah. We'll say instantiate like first time. We instantiate burger, add bread variant 1. We, add ingredients plus quantities. Same as variant. Then on the second meal, we instantiate burger, instantiate burger, and it auto-populates with previous burger. That seems kind of reasonable, right? And then, like, bread has drop down to switch to any equivalent bread. This assumes that there is only one category that all of my breads are in. Right? Like if I have like a bagel and I think that bagels are, there's one category of food, bagel. I don't think that I would necessarily use bread in every scenario that I would use a bagel because they're like thicker, right? But I might use bagels in some cases where I would normally use bread. Maybe. Right? So if I have like bagel in category bread and bagel, then I guess that's fine, right? I guess that means that like all categories that this ingredient is in are shown in the dropdown. That seems reasonable, right? Because like there's no way for it to know at this point, like the app doesn't know why I put something in, so it narrowing it down is like kind of unreasonable. We could specifically tell it that this we want bread, but I think that's like unnecessary. I think it's like rare that this will ever be a problem, right? Like if I'm like I had cream cheese in here and that's like an option for like cheese for some fucking reason, as well as like spreadables, that's probably fine. I think that's fine. So previous ingredients have drop downs to sub anything in their categories. Right? I think that makes sense. And then add like sub whatever. And then third to nth burger, we need to instantiate burger. I can't spell that word, dude. Instantiate burger, and then previous combos, ingredient combos are shown. Yeah. Probably, and we probably like maybe we only stash like n most frequent options. Seems reasonable. And then also having like notes on a specific instantiation makes sense. Notes, somewhere to write notes on instantiation, right? So that I can be like, that sucked. I think that works. So that solves the fact that I don't always buy the same bread. And the instantiations fix that I don't measure ingredients. I wonder, so should our instantiations automatically populate how much stuff we used? In some cases, I'll want to remeasure, but in most cases, I probably won't. Right? Like, if I spread cream cheese on a specific type of bread, or it's like a size of bread, it's probably like around the same every time. But if I take like a scoop of cream cheese and put it in the frying pan, that's probably going to be like pretty different every time. Anything that I pour is going to be pretty different. Anything that I spread is going to be the same. Like, one burger patty is always going to be one burger patty. Does it pay off to make number 2 a second case, special case? No, I don't think so. I think that this will just like naturally fold into this case, but I think that calling out exactly what will happen in the calling it the second burger is different. I think that like the logic will fold down, but having the behavior in my head, I think will make sense. It's just like nice to have here. But I think you're right that this is like folds into third case probably. What the fuck was I just saying? I already forgot. Amounts. So the question is do I pre-populate amounts? I think yes. I think I pre-populate amounts and then I change them if I want. Because then if I forget to measure something, at least I have like a ballpark that's like probably correct. Okay. So can we like can we summarize this in a way that like makes sense? Like in terms of like sets of actions. Like what is how would we like do this? The fix. So we definitely need to add ingredient categories. Collections. Remove. So right now our collection is like the guy that has this interface. It's almost like the collection turns into like an instantiation, I think. Collection to collection instantiation or meal. I can think collection instantiation. Adding meals, I think, is probably going to make sense. So we add the concept of a meal that instantiates collections. One to many. Collection is a meal without a category. I think it's different. I think it's collections are like just named foods. Like I think like a collection turns into only a name. I think that's all it is now in this scheme. Well, no, it's in terms of like what we enter, it's only a name, but it's really, I guess it's just like a grouping, a concept, a food concept, like burger, you know? I think that's reasonable, but like I don't really know how we get there from where we are. So I think that it's fine to leave the collections as they are for now and kind of like staple on the things that we want after and then delete the current stuff at the end. We also have to think about like what is reasonably doable in one stream, right? So can we dodge adding the concept of like a meal? Like meal consists of dishes. Why do you need collections, not dish? It might be dish. I just didn't know what the word was. Right right? So like collection might be like burger, and then a meal might be burger and fries, and then I might also have a collection of burger and fries, to be honest. Maybe, right? Like I might like I'm using collection as a word for like thing that I make that is kind of the same usually. So dish might be the right word there. Yeah, maybe dishes is the correct word. I could see that. Okay. So I think that we can make a meal page. Add meal page, and that meal page has like instantiates collections. Yes. So, and is that it? I think so, right? Like, do we ever want to add like an individual ingredient to a meal? Mm, like if I don't have a collection for French fries, right? And I have burger as a collection, I'm like, I ate fries right now and I added some ketchup to them, right? Maybe I do that. In that scenario, like, where does that go? Right? Like who owns that knowledge? And like is fries with ketchup, do we like want to force that to be a thing? It's not crazy. Not crazy. Because, like, you're saying, like, salt. But I think the salt is always going to go on a dish, right? Salt is, like, part of pasta. It's, like, part of fries. You know? You know? Water, drink, soda. Yeah, I guess, like, sody or, like, beer. That's pretty, like, not category. Yeah, okay. So we'll say that like meal we'll leave ingredient instantiation in the meal as like an option for the future, but I think that we can dodge doing that now. We need to like scope how much we're going to do in one day. So let's say that our meal page instantiates one too many collections. So it's going to have like add collection, which is gonna like drop down from list of available collections, right? Um, then we're gonna be able to like edit fields of that collection, and we're gonna show like many collections. Okay, I think that's or override, I guess. Okay, and in terms of like storage, in terms of storage, if we instantiate like the same fucking thing like 100 times in a row, it's silly for us to write that down every time. So I think references instantiation, if exists. I think that makes sense, right? So we had burger and fries yesterday and we had it again today. And so we start with yesterday's burger and fries, and then if we modify something, then either it's like a patch or it's like its own new thing. Yeah, I think that's fine. So like the schema there is like meal instantiation schema is like he has like an ID for like this instantiation, like base ID, and then the collection ID that he's associated with. And then we probably have like another table that's like uh meal in or dish instantiation, we should say, collection instantiation, whatever. Collection instantiation. Dude, instantiation. What about leftovers? That's fine. That's fine. I think that it just means that you like, yeah, you maybe have like a multiplier somewhere. I think that there's a good chance that cooking and eating become two separate concepts, right? So like I made a bucket of spaghetti and like I ate a quarter of it. You know, that's sort of like I know what's in like the total spaghetti, but I don't really know what's in like one individual chunk of spaghetti that I ate, but I can probably approximate that. As long as I eat all the spaghetti, I'll get all of that stuff eventually. 0.3 times burger, yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think. So in a collection instantiation, we're gonna reference the like instantiation ID, and then we're going to say like, I guess this is overrides or something like that, where we say like, um, I guess it does. Let me think. Maybe instantiations are reused. So then like a meal has like instantiation ID in here. Meal components is going to be like, is going to have like some link of meal ID to instantiation ID. And I guess off rip, this thing is like nullable. And so off rip, if there was an old instantiation, we pick one. And then if we ever modify an ingredient, boom, completely new instantiation. That seems reasonable. I think that's right. I think. Okay. So add meal page. We add a collection, or instantiate collection, I should say. Drop down from a list of available collections, and uses previous instantiation if available. If then we have override fields of that collection and of that instantiation. God damn it, dude. Instantiation. Why is this word so hard? Hello, guys. What is going on? We're just realizing that like tracking food is actually like kind of like a complex thing. Like, what is a meal? And like, if I want to see like how many times I ate burger and what did I put in burger those times, that's like kind of like a non-trivial concept, it turns out. And so we're just trying to figure out how we like link all these ideas together, that like, you know, I might have different bread than last time I made something. I might have different amounts of ingredients, and like I might substitute ingredients. Maybe is it fine? Like, am I over engineering this right now, thinking about the fact that I want to reuse previous instantiations? That might be like, we might just leave that as a problem for later. If we find that our database is getting too large, can we deduplicate later? Probably, right? If I go through and I say, hey, all of these instantiations are identical, fold them into one thing, that can be done later. And if they're not identical, then like they can't be folded down anyways. Yeah, I think it's fixable later. Define too large. Yeah, I don't know. Like costing me too much money on my backups. Like probably. If like my like if right now I think I pay like 40 cents a month for my S3 bucket that has like years of backups. If that starts getting too large, if that like starts like being like noticeably more expensive, then like the database is too big, right? Probably in the realm of like hundreds, like tens of megs would probably be too big, would be my guess. We can do some like back of the napkin math, I guess. So let's say that I eat, you know, 3 meals. That's a lie. 4 meals, 2 meals. How much do I eat a day? Probably on average, like how many things am I instantiating a day? Probably I'm having like, I might eat like smoothie, egg, some form of dinner, some form of snack. So like 4 instantiations a day ish, maybe, with like on average, like I don't think I use that much stuff. So like probably like less, like on the order of like 5 ingredients per instantiation, probably on that order. Right? So like 20 things a day, which is like, what is the cost of these things? It's probably like a instantiation ID to ingredient ID plus serving unit plus serving size, approximately. Right? On this order. So 20 times, like, these are I64. We'll say all I64s for now, just to make the math easy. So this is like 8 times 4 is 32 times 20. Oops. So we're talking like 600 bytes a day. Maybe like 700, like on the order of like 700 bytes a day for this, which seems fine. Like how many, like if we have like years of data, oopsies, 2 times 365 times 700, we're talking like 500 kilobytes over 2 years, which is fine, right? That means over like 10 years we're looking at like 5 megs, which is starting to get to be a lot. That's starting to get to be a lot, but I mean, it is also, yeah, it's fine. We'll see. We can always, at that point, in 5 years, we can think about deduplicating. How about that? How about that? So, hand wavy, 500, like, what did we say? It was 4 times 8 times 20. So, yeah, 700 bytes a day. Okay. So we'll say this is like regarding duplication when instantiating meals. Duplication. Okay, so that changes the plan a little bit. That does change the plan a little, right? It means that our meal components so within a meal component, we have many instantiation IDs. I think that makes sense. Then a instantiation will have to have a table somewhere. We're going to have like collection instantiation quantities, right? And this is ID, instantiation ID, ingredient ID, I think. Ingredient ID, serving unit, serving size. I think that's right. So then, does this flow work? We Uh, add ingredient categories. We add the meal page. We instantiate collections from a drop down available collections. This then just says like, um, like drop down of previous drop down, like select from previous variants. But how? Because like the variants aren't necessarily named. Maybe they should be. Right? So like I'm gonna like have like a page, right? Where I'm gonna have like meal. I'm gonna have like meal. Right? And here I'm gonna have like, I'm gonna have like I added burger, right? And in burger, I'm gonna have like a drop down to like add ingredients. I'm gonna have like some ingredients with their quantities, you know, like this. And like, how do I pre-populate this? What does that look like? Will you differentiate between linguine, bevatini, spaghetti grossi, spaghetti, spaghettini? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly those all like end up in the subcategory of spaghetti. Or like noodle pasta is maybe what we would call it. So there's gonna be like a drop down here to add stuff, as well as like delete buttons on all of these, probably, right? But all of this is like one version of the burger, right? How do we pick from previous versions? Like UI wise. Um Suggested ingredients on the side. Yeah, that's not crazy. That's definitely not crazy. Yeah, you could have like previous burgers. You could have like previous, and then you could have like you could show them in groups, right? You could have like one for like most common, 2, 3, and these just kind of show the list of ingredients, and you can yoink from these, I guess. Makes sense. Backed by an LLM. Somebody says that's a ban. So maybe you have like plus button over here or something where you can just kind of like slap these in, or even like a plus button here as well on the whole thing. So you can just be like, I want this one. Yeah, it's not crazy. And then these get like grayed out if they're already there. Yeah, I think I like that. Or maybe it might make sense for this to go like inline here or something, right? Just so that like with like maybe like a collapsible, right? So if I want to look at previous variants, I can, or I can just add stuff as I want. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we'll say sorted by ref count descending. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I guess maybe like I don't know if I want to show these as like previous variants or as like just previous ingredients. Maybe that makes more sense, right? I think that like if we're not like maybe by meal or by instantiation is something that we could do later, but maybe for now it's easier probably to just do ingredients sorted by number of times used in this collection. Right? Burger always fucking had bread. Ooh, we've missed something though. We've missed something. we want bread to be at the top, or maybe like patty to be at the top, not beyond patty, which is just one version of patty, right? So we need to make sure, I guess that's fine. It might just kind of work for free if the previous list, so from previous ingredients or categories, ingredient categories. So, right, like we might have made it with bread, like we might have made it with this specific bread 5 times, but the category of bread 10 times. And so the category of bread would show up at the top. But are we biting off more than we can chew if we do that? Probably. Okay, let's can we leave ingredient categories for a future stream? Maybe, right? So what if we do all of, like, today, we just focus on the meal page with specific ingredients, and then ingredient categories comes later. So add ingredient categories, we'll say that meal page should show categories in its previous instantiation segment. And then that solves that problem. And we just tackle that later. So then all we have to do for today is add a meal page, instantiate collection, which is a drop down from the list of available collections. We select previous ingredients. We scrap categories for now. And we'll have like previous ingredients section. This with sorted by, number of times it showed up. That seems fair. And then also with like delete plus add, other shit as well. Okay. Yep. And then, wait, the collection. Okay. Future. Yes. So we'll say this is today, and then this is like how we tackle the other half. Do we reduce today's problem statement? I think this is still related. Make it also fetch previous instantiations by the Levenshtein distance of the name you give the collection and suggest that via information. That's funny. I mean, that's not crazy, right? If I always write bread in the name of something, then like it's like a good automatic suggestion. That's not crazy. Okay. Okay, I think all of this makes sense. And is this like a fully fleshed out plan for today? We probably need a meals page and a meal page, unfortunately. Right? Because in order to test this, we're going to have to be able to reference previous meals. So I think this has to get done. Add meals page, add meal page, instantiate collection. Yeah. All right. Fuck it. I think that's enough. That's enough. So let's pivot, swap into implementation segment. Happy hour VOD viewers, catch you on the flip side, and everyone else, I'm gonna say yo 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 again in a second.